It has been a year of not flying, and if you don't fly for 2 years, it will result in the forfeiture of points in an airline mileage program. This is the reason for this journey that we're about to take, and I accompanied my mom's sisters and 2 other aunts to the capital. We begin by checking in for the flight. Of course, we need to present any valid government-issued ID, as this is now part of protocol. I don't have checked baggage for this flight, so I had my hand carry weighed and tagged as cabin baggage. As I've done online check-in the day before, my boarding pass was quickly issued and I was all set to go. The 67-year-old terminal has already improved its facilities too, like this bathroom. I had done a case study on this airport during my graduate school years at Colegio de la Purísima Concepción, which lasted from 2019 until my graduation in 2022. However, there's still room for improvement for this airport and much more to work on. Even CAPROHA's head Monico Basaliote also agreed with my work too. Here's our plane, by the way, which just arrived from Manila. Before it landed, several passengers for the first Cebu Pacific flight out of Rojas have begun congregating at the hall. By the way, Cebu Pacific has 2 flights to Rojas. In no time, the boarding process began, with my aunts, 2 of whom are Filipino blood Americans, being the first as they were senior citizens. One of them, Maria Ellie Cox, is a wheelchair passenger. She was booked for this privilege by Aunt Tessie Aguiling, also a fellow Filipino blood American. Another American aunt, Nene Belosilio, was returning home to the USA using the first LA-bound PAL flight of the day, PR-112. Then came my turn to board, wherein I would enter via a back door. It would be 10 years since I did this rear door boarding on a PAL flight last April 28, 2014. Yep, some passengers stopped by the porch to take a photo of the sunrise and their plane, which provided a good backdrop. You all know PAL uses the Sunriser livery as its logo. I joined these passengers in taking photos of the sun, and we were all set to go. It seems that the majority of the passengers on this flight are doctors. Let me introduce you to 2 of them. They are friends and acquaintances with my aunts. The chubby one here is Dr. Maria Teresa Tan, who is a commentator on the 6 a.m. Mass at the Capiz Cathedral, where I play music and sing every Sunday. The one in red is Dr. Celini Bosson, whom I conversed with while waiting to board the flight. Knowing my background as a psychology graduate, she told me that there's no age limit to study medicine, which Dr. Tan agreed to. This could happen, inshallah. I was also happy that both these doctors support my YouTube works and will be there to share them and encourage me to earn from my vlogging so I can use them for medical school if I wanted to, or in short, back me up in earning from the videos. This is the same aircraft I took back on November 12, 2018. I have a review of that flight too. The link for that is in the description. As usual, I always have to tap the plane's fuselage as a ritual. Upon entry, I was greeted with the warm smiles and welcome from the crew, giving them info that I was filming a new episode of my airline travel series, which they acknowledged. I gave them a logbook, which the captain can sign. Well, it's good to be back home with PAL after a year. Here's my seat, 50 Alpha. My aunts are 5 rows front from me, so I won't bother them with my shooting. Well, today's a lucky time since my row on the left is all empty. All I can do is place my laminated placard to inform passengers of a filming in progress. Here's how it looks like. With passengers still boarding, let's look at our seat. The legroom on this plane measures 29 to 30 inches. That's how it is because this plane was once operated by a budget carrier, Airfill Express. In the seat pocket is just a safety card and an air sickness bag. Mabuhay magazines have been gone since the pandemic. I'll tell you more about that later. Here's a safety card which has all these good graphics and artworks to orient you for emergencies. In no time, the doors were closed and the plane's engines went to life as a safety orientation was given through a live demo. All windows on this sector were blurry from its previous flight, but they will clear later upon takeoff. Not to mention that they showed signs of wear by scratches. A bit of history. Our plane, Roger Papa Charlie 8395, is a 13-year-old Airbus A320 that was delivered new to PAL's regional division PAL Express in 2011 when it was known as the budget carrier Airfill Express, bearing the orange and white livery. Once the subsidiary rebranded as PAL Express in 2013, the plane was repainted into the Sunriser livery. The cabin's rear wall still bore the same yellow-orange coloring, with only the seat coverings changed from dark navy blue to dark aquatic blue. Before we knew it, we began our move, taxiing down the runway to backtrack for takeoff.
Full speed ahead, Captain. And there we go, Captain.
Earlier, I mentioned that PAL had done away with its in-flight magazines. Here's the reason. Ever since the pandemic, like many airlines around the world, PAL stopped its print version of the Mabuhay magazines, owing that such thing can be a possible method of virus transmission on board. However, this version doesn't mean that they will not totally have print versions anymore, but only time will tell when these will return. Luckily, I have my copy of the airline's 75th anniversary commemorative coffee table book, which I bought in 2017 and first brought with me as an in-flight reading material during my 2018 US trip with PAL's 777. Now let me give you a key event of PAL's role in Philippine history.
In 1973, a year after the declaration of martial law, the then sitting Ferdinand Marcos Sr. implemented the One Airline policy through letters of instruction numbers 151 and 151A. And PAL, at that point, absorbed Filipinas Orient Airways and Air Manila International, and making it the only carrier to operate within the Philippines and the only airline for that country. Now you know the history.
Although PAL Express is a full-service carrier operating within a low-cost model, flights 50 minutes or less only serve water and light snacks like pretzels or cookies. Pastries and hot drinks are gone and remain reserved for the 55 minutes and above sectors. However, you can still request a hot beverage. That is why I brought some sachets of my coffee, Nescafe. It's good PAL is back to serving using the disposable cups. During the pandemic, drinks were served in bottles.
It's a good thing that PAL really cares for its customers, and they know that the customer is always right in most cases. But of course, in acts of God, or what you call the force majeure, the customer cannot be always right, but they also demand or request to be properly accommodated, like hotels. However, in the business, you know that the customer is always right when it comes to proper service and proper accommodation. But in the case of force majeure, they cannot demand to be flown immediately because it's for their safety.
We continued flying over provinces, and with nothing to do after my morning coffee, I just took the time to read my book until turbulent air hit, wherein we decided to buckle up. In a few moments, we began our descent into Manila, so I had to close my tray table and stow my luggage. Enjoy the view as we land smooth like butter.
40 minutes past your present.
Honestly, it would be better if PAL's turboprops are handled at Terminal 4 or the Manila Domestic Passenger Terminal. But nevertheless, it is good to be back at Nichols International Airport again. Like my last flight with them, PAL cabin crew implemented an organized disembarkation process for this flight, calling 5 rows at a time and asked passengers seated on these rows to stand up, get their bags and leave. All passengers followed and got off the plane in an orderly manner. As a courtesy, I was the last to leave the plane, letting all passengers disembark first. This is the norm for my family, of course. My Aunt Ellie is also the last to leave this flight as she's a wheelchair passenger. And here we are for a big surprise.
Hello there, Captain.
Hi.
How are you? Sure.
Okay.
This is a visit to the cockpit and the first for an A320. Here are my list of cockpit visits in the subtitles. Both our pilots seem happy to see me interested with aviation.
So you're interested in aviation,
Yeah.
With these photos taken, a friendship was formed with the crew of our flight.
It was a good flight in the cockpit, and thanks to our pilots, you'll never go wrong with Philippine Airlines. Remember that. It's okay to try every other airline, just for an experience of course, and to learn from them. Never go wrong with any airline.
Thanking them for the buong pusong alaga, I deplaned to be met by Macro Asia staff, whom I also befriended.
Hi, hello, hello, thank you. You're live on and promoting the airline, by the way, and you guys remember, you might get more customers with me as promoting Macro Asia and PAL. Never go wrong with me. Sige, bye.
Would also love to work with Macro Asia somehow as a ground agent, which I tried applying in 2022. Let me try applying with Pags or Dinata. Walking down this air bridge, it seemed good to be back at the Centennial Terminal post-pandemic, seeing more travel numbers booming to the level of pre-COVID-19. And this is the first time I walked this terminal in its purely domestic era. Let me give you a bit of history.
Terminal 2, or the Centennial Terminal, has already been made to accommodate all domestic flights ever since July 2023. And it's just really exciting. As you know, this terminal, which was built in 1998, was originally intended to accommodate only domestic flights. But it was modified to accommodate international flights too. Then, as you know, 25 years later, it was reverted to its original purpose, or what it is to be.
We made our way through these halls until we descended to the North Wing arrivals. Gone are the immigration counters that process PAL's international passengers. Seemed that the terminal looks spacious now. Reuniting with my doctor friends, we headed to belt number 6. A majority in our party did not have checked baggages, but 2 of my aunts, Ellie and Nene, had checked baggage. The former having some seafood to give to my Manila-based cousin Nino, and the latter claiming it to undergo additional security screening at the Ninoy Aquino Terminal or Terminal 1 despite having an onward boarding pass, because all Western nations and Oceania PAL flights require such security screenings. With all the baggage claimed, it was time to go out, wherein we meet with Nino. After Aunt Nene was sent off by a shuttle bus, we thanked our wheelchair helper, wherein we tipped her as Aunt Tessie booked the same service for our return flight on March 8. But she confused me to be a PAL employee because of my shirt.
YouTuber po ako, and I'm promoting airlines po, vlogger. Sige po, ingat po ma'am.
At the end, a new chapter was written that many friendships were formed in the aviation sector on this day, and that such sectors are places to form great friends. With everyone in this party knowing of the friendships I made with today's crew, they knew it was a good time to celebrate for me, and I suggested Paramia ice cream. That ends this flight report, and I hope you all enjoyed it. If you're new to this channel, please click the subscribe button as well as the notification bell to get more updates on the Flight Report 101 series and other contents I make. I look forward to our next video.